yeah, I'll be doing lecture style, but then please interrupt me if you have any questions, so we can, I can explain everything you don't understand or go into more detail if there is a topic you think is not well explained enough. So that would be
You must be a married man, because one of your phrases was,
Tom.
I can explain everything.
So, because there's so many of us, I think hand raising would be essential then.
Yeah?
Okay.
Will you can be chair.
Eh?
You can be chair.
I haven't got my glasses, I can't see anyone very well. So, anyone else who wants to be chair, by all means.
And then at the end,
Alex, yeah, no, mate, go on, chair.
have a couple of points to raise a debate on that. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So it would be then lecture and then a bit of debate with some help.
Cool, alright then. Lecture style with questions and answers and Alex chairing. Yeah? Sound good?
Yeah?
Yeah.
Excellent. Fire away when you're ready.
Okay. Well, first, thanks everybody for coming over. And yeah, basically I'm going to talk about internet privacy, and this will be yeah, I mean, this of the talk. So first I'll start saying like what we have now, the current state of the situation about privacy and everything. Then comes a really small, boring part about theory that you have to understand to make the decisions yourself. Then we're going to talk how you can protect yourself, like surf the web anonymously and all that. After that, I will talk about how can you actually fight on the internet, like you know, anonymous and this kind of stuff. Then I'll talk a bit about my own conclusions on the thing, and then I'll have a few points that I think would be good for debate, and also you can debate on my own conclusions, so we have even more debate. Okay, so like on the world level, we've always have surveillance on phones. Like, I mean, you can assume every call you're making is being taped, and if you say anything like bomb, it will be revised by a person to see if you're dangerous or not. Also, all the SMS you're sending, those are being recorded. This article on the Guardian basically says that every day 5 million SMS are being taken by the NSA and being analyzed. And of course, I mean, you all know about surveillance drones and surveillance satellites. So, I mean, they can't even see through the walls, and so basically they could be seeing us right now if they wanted to. And I mean, they are not even trying to hide it. You can see all the spy satellites they are sending up. They won't tell you exactly the inside of it, but they would tell you, look, this is in this rocket we're sending 3 or 4 spy satellites, just like that, so easy. And since this talk is more centered on internet, then well, I think I will start with talking about Prince. This was what Edward Snowden talked about and why he's currently now been in Russia, because he cannot come back to the US. And this is by the NSS in the US. This is really a big plot to basically spy everything we do on the internet. Not only on certain targets as, let's say, terrorists, but on everybody, gathering anonymous data so they can then do their analysis. Let's say how many people visit that page, or if they detect that anonymously that you are going on a certain web page they don't know, then they will start doing an attack on you exactly. Okay. And also with the NSA, with this Snowden scandal, it was uncovered how Facebook, Microsoft, Google, and other big companies were basically sending data of your computer usage. Let's say, what programs have you installed? How many times you use it? When do you turn it on and off? And basically, they say they needed a warrant for a judge to take all the data, but that was bullshit. They could basically go there and say, okay, I want to spy on this person, and they would simply take the data. Nobody would be controlling it. Like, there was this article about how one guy wanted to date a girl, so he basically used that to find out what they were like and so. So, you know, that kind of not control. And yeah, I mean, the amount of, I don't remember the exact numbers now, but things like maybe 200,000 people the NSA asks Facebook for data. So, you know, who are their friends, what does he like, and things like that. Then, more hardcore stuff would be what they have in China and North Korea. That would be, in China they have what they call the Golden Seal Project, that is basically a big firewall, and they don't let you visit political web pages or certain web pages that they consider that are not good for you to visit. On North Korea is even worse because they basically have their own intranet with a few nodes connected outside, so you can basically do anything there. You have no access to outside information at all. So this is mainly the world view. We are completely a spy, everything we do. And now let's go to more UK, since we're in the UK. So first things are all the cameras that have been installed. You see them, especially in London. So yeah, I mean, they are basically recording 24/7, and if you go over, well, you can record it, and they can check that out, or whatever they want with it. Then there is an internet censorship here. Also, the last law that was passed basically aimed to censor things like file sharing, BitTorrent, and so. And then what they consider to be bad things like gore or drugs or porn and many more. But this also, I mean, even with, if we say, okay, this is right, we think these pages shouldn't be visited, well, with the current censorship that they have installed, they are also blocking another web pages like sex education or drug advice. So these people that maybe are really addicted and need some, you know, that web page could be of help, they wouldn't be able to access it because it's been censored here. So yeah, I mean, even if we take it for granted, it's not working really. Then we also have the Nation Intelligence Service that have been working closely with the NSA. And well, one of the news was that they managed to get on the webcams of several 100,000 laptops. So that paranoia of putting some sellotape on the laptop, well, that wasn't paranoia. They could actually access it, and it wouldn't, the light wouldn't even turn on, so you wouldn't know they were doing that. Yeah, well, also WikiLeaks. I assume everybody knows what WikiLeaks is. So if any of you have visited that page, they know you have, because they have been tracking every single person that has been visiting WikiLeaks from here. And not only the bad people, but the good people. On the G20 conference, they were spying on their allies. So, like presidents of France, and presidents of Spain, they were spying on them. They even managed to access some phone conversations and all that. So, yeah, everybody's spying on everybody. And then you could tell me, okay, we're in the UK, this is not North Korea, this is not China. Okay, they're spying a bit, and censorship a bit, but it's not that bad. It doesn't really affect me. I have nothing to hide. Then I would tell you, they have already all the tools to censor, because they have been censoring what I told you about porn, gore, drugs. to go from there to, we don't like anarchists, we think they are bad for society, they are a danger. It's just a small step. It takes so little to do that change. We just need some more right-wing ideas, and they can start doing that. And yeah, basically that's the was the aim of how things are going to spike more and more. And also, how much does your data cost? Well, I can tell you that you can get a valid credit card number for $4 if you know where to look for it. And if you want some personal data from somebody, you know, name, credit card number, NHS number, you can get that for $25. And if you want from somebody important, it wouldn't cost you more than $300. So then you could imagine that, no, it's not that expensive actually. Okay, now comes the boring part. I'll try to make it short. To understand how they are spying on us, first we have to understand how computer works. So to make any program, say PowerPoint, Windows, whatever program that you use on your computer, you have a programmer that takes a file and writes some text, that means some mathematical whatever, and then with that text file you use a program called compiler, and that translates it to zeros and ones that the computer actually can understand. So, and the process is not reversible. If we have the binary code, we cannot go back to the source code. It's only in this way. So then, if you're given a binary code, let's say you downloaded the last Word Office suite, then you only have access to the binary. You don't have access to the source code. How do you know what's written in there? How do you know if there is some part of the code that's saying, okay, let's record I don't know, whatever he's writing and send it back to the company. So then what we're left is to trust in the company that sell us the software, or the company, the company that made the software. We have to trust them that they are not doing that. But let's not forget that these are really big software companies driven by profit. So can we actually trust them that they won't be spying on us? So I think the obvious answer is no. So to solve that, we have free software, and that's free as in free of speech, not free beer. So that basically means software where you can access the source code. So if you think they would be spying on you, or there is something wrong with it, you can always go to the source code and check it out for yourself. Of course, you're not a programmer, you wouldn't do it by yourself. Well, you can ask a friend, you can ask me, I could have a look at it. So then, going a bit off topic, the idea of free software have been applied into other areas, and we have come with this idea of copyleft instead of using copyright. So then, to understand this, I have to ask the question: is anything 100% original? So then, I mean, if nothing is 100% original, how can you say, I'm gonna copyright this, I made it? You made it, or did you just mix and put some ideas together? And also there is a really important difference I want to make, because they usually say that downloading and copying is stealing. Okay, you have a bike, I go and steal your bike. I can ride it, you cannot. You have a movie, I go and copy your movie. You can watch it and I can watch it. I think there is a really big difference there. So, and also there are some like stupid points. I think it's in this country, but it might be in some other country, where they consider that a song is original as long as it has 4 notes difference than another song. So if it has I mean, if it has more than 4. So if it has, I mean, why not 3? Why not 5? Why do we consider a new song if it has a 4th note different? And yeah, so then with this whole thing about copyleft has been applied to books, songs, word design. So basically, what it means in the end is not giving away for free your thing, because okay, you have mixed something, but you have put an effort in doing that. So what copyleft allows you to do it is to decide what can people do with your work. Let's say people can copy it, but if they want to sell it, you want to receive some money. So you can do that with copyleft. Or maybe you don't care and you just want to give it away for free for everybody to do whatever they want. You can do that also with copyleft. This presentation is copyleft. You can do whatever you want with it. Okay, so going back to topic, we were talking about free software. So if you want to protect your privacy, if you want to be secure, there's only one option, and that's using Linux, because it's the only free software operating system that we have. Here I have put some varieties of it, and basically you would see that in the whole presentation. On top I would put the one I less like, but the easiest one, and on the bottom the most effective, more difficult one. Personally, I use Ubuntu. I quite like it. It's really easy to use, but it's not 100% free software, so well, I mean, for starters, it's okay. Then we have some others like Tails, that this is really security orientated. It comes with everything prepared, so you can encrypt your data and do like security stuff. And we have an interesting one, Kali, because you can test Wi-Fi strength with it, maybe not your own. And then the most technical ones are these two, because these are not hard to use. You just have to be willing to read some tutorials and spend some time on it. But I have installed them, I have used them, they are quite nice, and you know everything that is on them because you study, so you have absolute control. Okay. Next thing, if you wanna have privacy, the first thing is to have a strong password. It's useless, let's say, to encrypt all your hard drive if your password is 1234. So then we come to the problem that ideally you should have one different password, strong and complicated, for every application you use. For, let's say, one for Facebook, one for Google, one for whatever. So nobody's going to remember that, of course. So for that we have password managers. That's basically a program where you input one password, really long and a strong one, and then you can access to an encrypted file that have all your other passwords for the other stuff that are generated by the program and are totally complicated and random, like really good ones. Yeah, so a few options are LastPass. That's you install it, it gets integrated on your on Firefox, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, whatever, and then it automatically saves all your passwords, so it's kind of nice. Then we have the Firefox built-in password. That's basically when you go on the web page and it says, do you want to save your password? And you click save. You're using it, but not with a master password. You need the master password so that those passwords you are saving are protected. And the option I've been using is a program that you have on your pen drive. So you basically have your program there with your files, with your encrypted file, and you plug it in whatever computer you like. You run it, and you have your passwords there, so it's in your control. Okay. Now we go to data encryption. So let's say you have, I don't know, some pictures on your computer you don't want anybody to see, some files, your bank account. So what you do is encrypt it. To do that, you need a password, and that generates what is called a key file. And with that key file, you encrypt your data. Encrypt basically means that you have all those zeros and ones, and they are all messed around until they don't make any sense. And doing that is really easy to do with your password, with the key. But once they are encrypted, it's really easy to go. It's really difficult to go back without the password. And yeah, and there's some technical stuff about encryption with symmetric and asymmetric, but I'm not really going to explain that. So what options do you have to encrypt your data? First one is locknode. It's basically like a WordPad. You write stuff on there, and then it says what you write. Yeah, for starters, it's okay. Then you have these other two programs where you basically have a file with a folder with a few files, and you say I want to encrypt it, and you put the passwords, it gets encrypted, and that's quite safe. I mean, from the TrueCrypt, I read an article that said that the FBI took a computer for some terrorists, and they've been like 5 years trying to unencrypt it, and they haven't still got it there. Because basically, if you have a really good password, it could take literally millions of years to try all the possible combinations and unencrypt it. And for the hardcore people, I mean, these two use the last one that is basically like the whole protocol algorithm that does everything together, and you would need a terminal and that. So if you really want to have control, you would use the last one. But I would really advise you just to use TrueCrypt. Now we have to another boring theory part. To understand how our privacy is violated on the internet, we have to understand first how internet works. So what you really have to know is that you have your computer, you want to access some web page, and you basically send a request to some server telling them, look, I want to access this web page, and the server replies back with that data, and you have it in your computer. So to do that, you are sending the server your IP. That's a number that identifies your computer. So that's how they know who you are. And also, the other thing to have clear is the data. So the web page you are visiting, because you don't want them to know who you are, nor you want them to know what web pages are you visiting. So the first thing to have really clear is that anywhere you do a login, let's say Facebook, Google, any place where you have to use a username and a password, is not secure. Because that's an identifier. It doesn't matter how much protection you use, because your account is linked to you. So they know it's you. Then, what options do we have to hide our number, the IP? So we have proxies. Proxies are basically another computer that you put on the middle, and instead of asking the server directly, you ask to the proxy. Tell the server to tell me I want to visit that web page. So the server only knows about the proxy. But this is not really effective in the sense that there are some proxy attacks where you can basically find out who's been asking the proxy. Then to hide, to protect the data, so the web page you're searching, you would need to do some kind of encryption. So the web page data that the server sends back is encrypted, and the petition saying I want to access that web page is also encrypted. So a good option for that is what are called VPNs. Those are virtual networks. It's basically instead of connecting yourself to the computer and doing the petition to the server on the internet, you do a different protocol that basically encrypts your data automatically and also hides your IP. The only problem is that it's usually paid and it's kind of hard to configure. And also, I mean, how it works really is by establishing like one-way connections where you have like, let's say, an internal private network. So you will need to do that for everything, every web page you would be looking. However, there is a good one, OpenVPN, that is free, so you could give it a try. Then, how to surf the web anonymously. As I said before, the only options really are free software. So I can only advise you to use the first thing I would, of the popular programs to surf the web, I can only tell you to use Firefox, but not Firefox as it is, but with those ads. First ad block, so you don't get any virus. Then Ghostery, what it does is it deletes the cookies. Cookies are information that the web pages saves about you. So let's say you are visiting a web page that has a small Facebook banner saying like it. So through that banner, Facebook knows you have visited that web page. So with Ghostery, you will be blocking that. And then also you need HTTPS everywhere, because this is a new protocol where basically the information, the IP and the data are being encrypted. The only problem with this is that only about 20% of the web pages that are currently now in the world have implemented it, and of those, if there is any part of the web page that is not HTTPS, then it's quite easy to attack it. So the real solution would be using Tor. That's modify Firefox, and what it does is something similar to the proxy, but much more complicated. So instead of having one server, what it does is connects like everybody that is using the program. So say you want to go to one server, so you would ask the Tor program would ask another person using Tor, hey, ask another person using it, and that a couple of times, so the message is basically untraceable, and then the last person would go and ask for the server. The problem with this is that they can know that you're using Tor. They wouldn't know what web pages you're visiting and where you, but they would know that you're using it. So that's a bit, yeah, it's not that good. But there are options to avoid that. Then another thing, emails. You would also want to have your emails private. So the first thing to have clear is that emails are stored on a server, and when you go on a web page, like Outlook or Mail or whatever you use, you are accessing that server and telling that server, where are my emails, and it sends it back. So the first thing is to have a private and secure server, because those emails stored there have to be encrypted. So there are a couple of options, some free, some paid. And if you have time, I would advise you to get your own server. You basically have to, you can get a really small computer for 25 quid and set up your own server, really easy. Because, I mean, if you use one of the email servers above, you are also trusting those people that their servers are secure and that they are really encrypting it. And again, you cannot really trust them. Then we have the other part. How do we access that server? Almost everybody uses webmail. That's basically going into Firefox or whatever and going into the address and looking at the email. Okay, that's really easy to use. But the problem is, if you're using some encrypted email, the key, the password that is being used to encrypt it, is being saved on those servers. So if the servers get down, if they are confiscated by the FBI, whatever, then it will have access to the key. So the option is to use an email client, so that's basically Thunderbird, Outlook, one of those. It requires a bit of configuration, so it's a bit more difficult, but it's more secure. And that key is stored on your computer, so it's as secure as your computer is. Then again, the one I like less, Outlook, better than nothing. Evolution is the software one, it's okay. But if you really want some privacy with your email, use Thunderbird and Enigmail. And with Enigmail you can set PGP quite easily. That's the standard encryption protocol for emails. So with that you will be quite secure. Now we go onto instant messaging. So Skype and all that. Okay. So I could advise you to use Pigeon encryption. Both of them are really good. Pigeon encryption, what it does is like a normal chat, let's say in Skype. Everything is encrypted. It works okay. And the short Tor chat, what it does is uses the Tor network, so what I told you before, but for chat. So it's not difficult to configure either. And of course, we have to talk about smartphones. Again, free software, so iPhones are out of the equation and Windows phones are also out. If you're using Android, neither you are secure, but for starters, you could switch from non-free software applications to free software ones. So I give you a list there. There is an alternative Android marker. It is called F-Droid. I've used it. It's not really good, but at least you can know what applications you should download. And then a real good solution would be to install your own operative system. That would be, for example, this free version of Android that is only free software, and with that, you could say you are secure. And the other options would be to keep a look on Firefox OS and Ubuntu for phones. Ubuntu for phones hasn't come out yet, and Firefox OS is just starting, but you could take your Android phone and install that on top of it, so you will be more secure again. Now we come to the fun part, activism. Okay. I'm not really experienced into that, so I've been doing some research. First, you can try and do it on your own, like in the Hollywood movies, but it doesn't work like that. You don't do something like, haha, and I hack into the server. I mean, it takes loads of time. You have to learn a lot to be an effective hacker. So, doing it on your own, unless you are a technical freak, is not an option. So we come to the most, let's say, mainstream groups of hackers, that is Anonymous. Okay. The thing is that they don't actually do, the main thing they do is DDoS attacks. That is that what it does is asking a lot of petitions to a server or a web page until there are so many that it collapses and you turn the web page is down because there are so many petitions. So that's the main thing they do. And to do that, you have to do it in a group. I mean, one computer is not enough to do that. The other thing I like about Anonymous is that it's a headless organization, so there is no leader, they do whatever they want, but then that also has its downsides. I mean, sometimes it feels that they are just doing it for the fun, so is that really good or not? I mean, we can have that for discussion. So, let's say you want to join Anonymous. First thing you have to do is put in practice everything I've told you before. So you have to set up a really secure environment if you don't want to get caught. Have a few web pages with some information that I would advise you, if anyone is interested, to look it through Tor or through their normal browser. And the first two ones seem okay, but I'm not so sure about the third one because it's not HTTPS, and I mean it looked good. I checked it out, and the only thing what I mean is that it wasn't like a government web page to set you up. Everything seemed to make sense, except that it was a bit out of date, some of the things they were saying. But it had really good information. And then, once you have set up your environment, the way of communicating with them is usually IRC chats. That's basically the oldest chat there is. And to give you an idea on how secure it is used by the US military. So they communicate with that, with a secure version, of course. So there is a client. I use that one because it's also used by programmers. Quite easy to use. And what you do is you connect to a server and then you join a chat room. So those are the servers they are usually at. And you can check on the above web pages what are the channels they are usually. I also connected, and yeah, there were people there. So now I would tell you my own conclusions that are, of course, for debate. So first thing first, our privacy is being raped. Basically, they know everything we do, and we really have to defend ourselves. So I would really advise you to at least start with the easy steps I'm telling you. And then, how do we see the internet as a means of communication, organizing, helping the revolution? I think to do a small organization, so let's say we want to go to an illegal demonstration, we want to do something, and we want to organize that, and we don't want the police to know about it, so we can use all this to organize it. But then we also have to have in mind that things like the Egypt revolution was so successful because they were using Facebook. So we cannot turn down on mainstream, not privacy media. Even though it's not secure, but again we are reaching a lot of people, and with our private secure communication we are just reaching the people that are aware of that. And now I have 2 pages of debate, so that's it. Well, anybody had any questions? Because nobody said anything, basically. Did you understand all? Any comments before we go to the debate?
So, yeah, I mean, it's just to clarify, so we already know the answer to this, but when you're using Tor and stuff like that, it allows you to access block sites from your internet provider. Because, for example, Virgin Mobile blocks streaming, file sharing, and which is not the case with all providers.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, Tor browser is for people that use in China to access those web pages that are not allowed by them, so we can also use them. And there is a whole net of web pages that are only accessible through that network. So let's say you can hire a hitman, or buy drugs, or whatever other illegal thing that you wouldn't do on a normal web page. There are things there.
Say that they know that you're using Tor.
But they don't know what you're using it for.
Yeah, but surely they'll just get to a point where they'll create a program where they just gather information on everyone using Tor.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the sense like, okay, some people are using Tor. So what? Maybe they are just privacy concerned people. I haven't done anything illegal and I use Tor, usually.
Fair enough. Well, with all of the methods that you've put in place that you've recommended, if you had a laptop and you set all of that up and then you use Tor, would it be 100% secure?
Not really. I mean, it really depends on what you are doing and your profile. The thing is, the more people that do it, the more secure it is. In the sense, what I said, that they are collecting a lot of information from email, from Facebook, and all that. If everybody's using HTTPS and is using Tor and encrypting information, they basically don't have the resources to unencrypt all that. So, well, I mean, yeah.
I was just going to ask, say you bought or built a fresh laptop,
Yeah.
and then you install, instead of having Windows or anything that takes so much data that like Windows usually does, say you had Arch Linux or something on there, and then you had all of the different privacy protocols that you've mentioned, and then you use Tor, surely you wouldn't have any information on there at all that links back to you, apart from the fact that you're linking from this address, but then that's bounced around to different Tor servers anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite secure. But then again, if you're like a really known hacker or things like that, they have the power to get into you. I mean, one of the things I didn't talk about was, for example, Google has its own intranet that is not connected to the internet, and it's really secure. I mean, they have the money to do it. Well, they have gone into that. So the thing is, yeah, it's secure. It's really secure. I would say more than 90% secure to do all that, and you would be good. But I cannot guarantee you 100%, because if they really want to, they have the resources to try and get you.
Question I've got to ask is it really worthwhile the bother of in fact trying to cover it up? Because it takes so much time, and in any case, yeah, other methods of getting information simply by planting a stall, amongst people. That's the way they mostly get their information.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you have to find your middle point. So, I mean, if you're not going to do a lot of, I don't know, hacking and hiring hitmans, then just take the standard measures. Like, I mean, what I use Linux, I have secure passwords. That's it for me.
Have you thought about a walk on Wimbledon Common when you discuss it with the person? That seems a better way of in fact controlling information. Whether it's worthwhile, trying to keep secret is another problem.
It doesn't reach millions of people at once, does it, Tom?
Well, if you do approaching millions of people at one go, I'll point out to you that that's easily broken because you've in fact got someone in those millions of people that will decode for them. Yeah. I'm just asking the question, at what point is it worth our while bothering?
As much as you care, and if you don't really care, then do it. That's what I could tell you.
Well, husbands and wives manage to deceive one another quite effectively, I am told. For I've never involved in such behaviour. The fact of the matter remains, you can always set up literally walking on Wimbledon Common, or there is another way, of course. You can put it in the post, because in fact, although they might like to strip everything out, if it's in the post with a very simple method of sending information, chances of being able to break it is zero. Well, not zero, but so low.
Yeah, indeed, but I mean, the post is slow. That's why we have modern communication technologies.
Yeah, I just have a question, because when you go on the internet, you always see all these free softwares, and actually a lot of it comes up in pop-ups. Where is like a good website or a good way to find out which free softwares are actually like good, credible, secure stuff, and not just shit that's going to destroy your computer if you install it?
Do you mean free software as anything that is free, or free software as in whatever free software?
A place where you would be able to see, what you're downloading, who it's from, who's created it, because you've got a lot of these softwares, but never sure, like, is it just a hoax? Is it really going to work, sort of thing? So.
Well, this is kind of running away, but I would tell you use Linux because we have sorted out there. Because on Linux you wouldn't download software from a web page you wouldn't trust. There are some servers that have the information encrypted and secure, and they are called like digital signatures. So when you want to install a program, you always know it's the real deal, not some crappy whatever. But I couldn't really recommend you anything on Windows. I haven't used it for a long time. Sorry.
Isn't SourceForge quite a good one?
SourceForge. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's good. Yeah.
What is that?
SourceForge.
SourceForge is just website. So SourceForge.com. And
What?
that's a free website, free software on it.
Also, with that one, I mean, I read a couple of months ago they were starting to put some like advertising and some adware on the things that you could download from there. So you should be careful with that one. I mean, it was good until not so long ago, but now just be careful.
No, sorry, okay.
How worried should we be about things like ACTA, SOPA, and like online, basically bills in parliaments around the world and international agreements that are coming out to regulate the internet?
A lot. You should be fucking paranoid. I mean, it's just crazy what they are aiming to. I mean, that was one of the points I was going to debate because, I mean, the internet started as a neutral place where you could do anything. And, I mean, how it's being controlled more and more. And basically, if you get an idea of the topology of the internet, I mean, where the big servers are, something like 80% of all the traffic goes through the US, so you can assume it's not going to be secure. And there are a few companies that have those main servers. And then again, I mean, there is all this like SOPA and all that is being developed recently, and every time it's more about control. I see how our privacy and freedom of speech is getting smaller and smaller with time. So we should really act about that. And just as a side point, today I read an article on Tim Berners-Lee, that was the guy who basically invented the internet, and he said that this was a really important issue and we should have some sort of basic rights for the internet because it's such an important tool for mankind. Does that answer your question?
So in a way, it's like it's going against human rights. Some of these bills, as I was reading about, I can't remember which piece of legislation, but a lot of groups have taken it to European Court, and it's expected that the European Court is going to rule on this legislation on internet, well, basically spying, that it contravenes human rights. So I think that's also why we should be worried about it, because we have a right to privacy, we have a right to an individual life, we have a right to think what we want, go where we want to go, and this, it's like it's control.
Yeah, I'm totally agree with you, and I mean, you only have to see what I was talking at first about Prince and the NSA, how basically they were days when the whole thing was uncovered, they say, well, don't worry if, they say to their population in the US, don't worry, we have not been spying on US citizens. Okay, I'm so much better now because they haven't been spying on them, but what about the rest of the world? So, yeah.
Well, in response to that, I don't know how true it is, but I read an article that said the US and UK had an agreement where neither would spy on their own citizens, so they spy on each other and trade the information. Therefore, it's a loophole that they use. But the question I was going to ask is, you said about this intranet in Korea.
Yeah.
Where essentially everything's controlled. If the internet was essentially created, is there not a way, if say a particular class had the means of production, is there not a way to create some sort of shadow internet where all of these methods of control are essentially banned?
Well, I could talk you about a project that it started in Spain called Gifinet. I think you could translate it. That's basically setting up their own internet, free and uncontrolled. So you would buy what do you call it? These things for phones and communications, the thing that transmits the signal.
Communications tower.
Yeah, yeah. Something like that, but like a smaller one. So you can buy your own for not much money, and then it gets connected to the other people, and that's like it's growing a lot, like exponentially. That people using that. So yeah, that's one of the projects that's going along in that way.
Is that Spain? So?
Yeah, but it's international already, and I mean the ways to protecting ourselves is in the end encrypting everything, and that's also even though they are spying us more, the latest protocols and new updates and everything are more security orientated. Like, let's say in the beginning there was only HTTP because there was like this trust that nobody would spy you, and now there is HTTPS, and the new protocols are also stronger to more encryptation and that. So that at least is some hope in the sense.
Tom?
Question, yeah. You're talking about the new protocols. There was some news articles about the NSA and some effectively getting into and just saying and building in back doors into these protocols that they can then exploit to break them, whilst them appearing to be more secure. The NSA is effectively biting them and getting other companies to fund this, and therefore allowing the back doors, which make them less secure.
Yeah, of course. This is an important, I think an interesting anecdote, that one of the encryption algorithms was in the beginning, the passwords would be 120 bits long, and the I think the US government or whatever has a say on that, push that they would be short to 50. So you can work out for yourself that was a movement so they could have the backdoor. But that doesn't stop you from using that encryption algorithm in its length if you want to. So as long as it's free software and you have the freedom to do with it what you want, you can hijack that, let's say, and use the full, strong, secure protocol.
So it's not the software, it's the software that implements the protocol itself that they're weakening, which means this is less secure, like the one they're currently to replace DNSSEC. Effectively allows man in the middle attacks to do without making them undetectable, because it's part of the protocol which allows anyone to read, whether you could get as that part of the protocol, the NSA, to effectively read any secure communications without actually you being able to detect it because it's in the protocol.
Okay, now I know what you mean. Yeah, of course. Even more. I was talking about digital signatures, and one of the NSA attacks was to get the digital signature company that is supposed to be neutral to get some signatures signed for them so they could use it and they could be valid because that was the digital signature. But to fight that, then you would use protocols that wouldn't be designed for them. Again, there are free, community design protocols. So I would say that you only have the option to use them. That's better?
That's because this protocol effectively determines how anything in the World Wide Web communicates.
Oh yeah, now you.
Because obviously another more secure way is to not use the World Wide Web, because that's only part of the protocol communicating on the internet is that thing, is the connection. Computers would be effective to write, as in, for mention on Spain.
Yeah.
Completely different protocol that could effectively be different World Wide Web, but still on the internet.
Yeah, you're right. I agree. So,
Tom?
Look, it's always possible to make unbreakable codes. Yeah, a one-time pad will always do that, and they're unbreakable, yeah, as long as they're long enough. Or if they're not unbreakable, they're unbreakable inside the length of time of the universe that's been around. The question for us really, is it worthwhile getting paranoid about it? One, because in fact most state organisations that are trying to penetrate through the very obvious reasons of finding someone to get into the system. Yeah. And in fact that goes in general. I mean, obviously the Second World War was quite clear on that matter. Can you penetrate it by finding a spy inside that will work? And that is, in fact, one sense, can always be created, virtually unbreakable. But the problem for anyone is that you're not trying to, in fact, communicate with just one person. Because if you were, it would be pretty useless anyway. Why not just nip over and tell him what's going to do? And therefore, all that can really happen is it makes it more difficult to see. But they're breakable because, by and large, you penetrate the organisations outside. That is, find some stooge or whatever you call it. So the first point I say, I'm not sure that it's worthwhile doing. Yes, I can see particular things. Now there comes another problem for us too. Obviously, we can say, well, right, everything must be open, which was the position of the communist movement, and I use that with things, just after the Russian Revolution, whether all information should be open to everyone. And that is an alternative approach we can get. And oddly enough, it's in the news at the present moment, because in fact our future, in fact, King has been in fact sending stuff around and about in fact giving advice to the government. And that's just been broken by, in fact, I think it's one of the main subjects, one of the main newspapers has decided to expose it. But can you ever really stop it? And there comes the next point too. What do you do with, in fact, people that are quite dangerous? I mean, for instance, child abuse systems. Are we suggesting that those should not be utilised? Now, the alternative is to say everything should be open, which was the position of the communist movement just after the Russian Revolution. And by and large, we're better protected by that than anything. That is to insist that all government productions are open to the public. Now, of course, will they in fact find ways around it? Yeah, they will find ways around it. But then you find ways just by going for a walk on Wimbledon Common, and having a chat. The point about it is all these things, if they're to be useful, have got to open up to a very large number of people. Yes, because if you have to undo each one, you might as well write to them in some code anyway. And simplest code is simply, in fact, looking at a long string. I think, for instance, irrational numbers. Yes, and in fact use those. As long as they're long enough, you can't break them. Or you can't break them in any reasonable time. So that's the first point. And secondly, if everyone's doing individual things, yes, it's pretty difficult to break them. The only problem is it's pretty difficult for us to use. Because you obviously want to, in fact, contact particular individuals on this matter. And that is it. So what should be the alternative? The alternative is open control of all government productions. And that was the position there. That is that there should be no secret service that is not open to the public. Our campaign on that level will be more effective than bothering about this tribute. If you want to keep things simple, then don't have a wife, don't talk to, in fact, someone in bed with you. Make sure that you're only talking to individuals there. Now, we do that all the time, because to the best of my knowledge, adultery has not come to an end as a result of that. Neither can you break it.
there a question?
But there was a question, is it worthwhile bothering about that? And this is the real point, because of bothering about it is more problems to us.
Jamba, do you want to
Yeah, I think you've
open
missed,
it up for
I think
debate?
you've missed the point, Tom, that it's the control of information that's the main problem. Because speaking about the Russian Revolution, the internet wasn't around during the Russian Revolution. You're talking about the Russian Revolution and how the position is that information is to be open. The internet wasn't around, that's irrelevant in this point. Because you're talking about the spread of information through people. Culture's evolved, people have essentially, the mindsets have evolved. What we've got at the moment, what we've had since we've had the internet, is the freedom to go online and essentially educate yourself, rather than looking towards seniors and trying to get someone to educate you. If that's being under threat, then of course that's something we should defend. And I don't think saying that it's not worth worrying about, of course it's something worth worrying about. This group wouldn't exist without the internet, we wouldn't reach anyone.
That's true. We can't run this group with the internet, of which we do, without, in fact, the situation that anyone sitting in this room could be a government stooge. No, you can't get rid of that without getting rid of the organisation. So is it worthwhile bothering about it? Better is a demand that there's open information, such as the newspapers.
We have a question.
Just replying to Tom, that's all right saying that now, but there will be a time when some of our activities, some of the people here will be acting illegally, and these issues that are being brought up this evening are very important, because in the future we will be acting illegally. Just sitting here talking about these subjects will be maybe illegal in the future, and are illegal in some countries already.
Yeah, I mean, in Spain they make a law to, I think, a gathering of more of 4 or 5 people was illegal, and that they made that like 2 years ago. So yeah, of course this is a thing to worry about. I mean, link back to what Alex or what Ben said, that where are we going with this? Should we worry about this? Or will we be paranoid? Of course we should, because they are controlling more and more.
Well, yeah, because it's becoming more and more private-based, isn't it?
Actually, I disagree with that question more and more, because by and large, once in fact you've got this certainly falls into the hands of other services that do it. So are you really going to be able to stop that? No, you're not. But if they do it with more than 1 or 2 people involved, it's inevitably broken by the very simple thing of getting, in fact, some inside information. Now, our problem historically has been, in fact, the penetration of the communist movements or left movements internally. On the other hand, we can hardly, in fact, bring an end to it. But obviously, you take normal precautions on the matter. And normal precautions is that you don't, in fact, talk to everyone about what you're doing. But then that leads to the problem of slowing us up. So you might as well say, well, up to a certain point, they're going to penetrate.
Alright, we've hit the 1 hour mark, just so that I tell everyone. So
Tom, there's
everyone
one point you're missing, is that the internet's one of the only things where we have essentially computer programmers and hackers on what would be our side, the anti-establishment, anti-capitalist movement. So you have groups like Anonymous, be them a headless organisation, they've still made changes in countries where they've tried to not so much ban, but control the internet. And that's why I'm making this point, because I'll argue with you to death over it. Because you're saying that it'll be penetrated anyway. We actually have some leeway on the internet, because there are some programmers and hackers and whatnot out there that are not government officials. Whereas, you know,
But they only need 1 if it's a big number.
one more.
Well, look, if you're going to have an organisation that's organising on a world scale, which at least is in fact part of our own, it's inevitable that we will get penetrated. And to pretend that's not the case is deluding yourself.
Yes.
So what is our alternative?
Oh, we have a question here.
Sorry.
About what's worth it is most things work best when they're done in mass. So if you've got a few people using encryption, it's much easier to notice who they are and that they're people you need to correct. People losing for legitimate reasons, if they're, so people in countries where they need to get information out, journalists, whatever, if they're on their own, they're the only people doing stuff, they stick out like a sore thumb and you can target them. There's lots of people doing it too, you're not interested in, but it's hidden in the huge, but the people who are interested are hidden in the noise of everyone else. It makes them much harder to pick out and therefore break, because you've got a mass and it's much harder, the sheer scale of the information and it's much harder to break and find the information from it because of scale. And actually, if you do it, then Betty, not doing it because you personally need to do it, but because it enables others who do need to do it for various reasons, and it makes them safer by they can hide rather than get exposed by sticking out by trying to
That's a really good point. That on the Tor web page, that's one of the first things they say. Share the word, get more people to use it, because the more people that use it, the more secure it is. So you just got the point, yeah.
That cannot be the case.
We've got a question around.
Not really. Just like,
Ben?
no, they're pretty on it, mate. To tell you the truth, I think they're scared to death of the internet. I think it terrifies them. I think that they're really scared of people talking to each other. They don't want it. They've made laws like, you know, like you were saying, like 5 people can't talk to each other in Spain or you're nicked. Like, what's that about? You know, nuisance law. Like, you know, what's that about? Like, you know, thought crime, all that. Like, I mean, it's fucking pretty deep. I think they're terrified.
The point that needs to be made, well, it's the first one on the board right now. They're literally selling our data off to other companies to make some money off it. So we can basically cut into their profit margins right now just by using encryption. If they can't find our data, they can't sell it to anybody. They're losing their profits off that. We can start hurting them right now.
Yeah, I mean, Google main profit margin is on selling people data.
I mean, what's Facebook's business model without selling data?
Oh yeah, about that.
Wouldn't exist without.
If you see on the right hand side of your Facebook page, it kind of like outlines everything you might have searched recently and bought recently.
To go back, a good alternative to Google would be DuckDuckGo. That's a privacy searcher. Oh yeah.
Eco search as well.
Ecosia, yeah. I'm not so sure about this privacy, but it says it plants trees. So.
I have 2 technical questions mainly. Tor, is it like a VPN, like a virtual network? Because you said that the Tor is a network. It's like a group network.
Yeah. Well, I don't remember exactly now, but yeah, I mean, it uses kind of a mix of different levels on encryption and that. So yeah, kind of.
So VPN is, let's say, it's the difference between Tor and VPN is that VPN uses again a server, a sender server.
The main difference is that VPN is a connection to something. So somewhere, let's say I can connect with VPN to the university intranet and add, like if I was here, but and that connection is secure. And with Tor, it would be to, somehow to connect to the Tor net.
Yes, actually, so VPN is mainly used for internet.
Yeah.
And not internet.
Yeah, VPN is usually to get to some private intranets and things like that from outside. Yeah.
The VPN is just basically like a proxy, isn't it? Like you are using it as a proxy.
Well, no,
More advanced,
it makes
much
it
more.
look like you're actually on that network.
Yeah,
This proxy
exactly.
just means you're coming, looks like you're coming from where that server hosting the proxy is. It's
Yeah.
America, rather than the UK.
Tom, you
Well,
got
you
a
have-
short point?
I always make short points, just you don't listen too hard. The fact of the matter remains, we should be out for total open for everyone, all things. The point about, for instance, of firms that have got particular technical ability, and then charge for it. No, we should be against any rights of people to own scientific knowledge. Once it's there, we should be in favour of spreading it to everyone. This talk about that particular problem, that's our main problem.
Yeah, I mean, of course I agree, but when they have the power to control us, then we might as well do this in the meantime, until we get to that point.
Well, how are you going to get to that point without, first of all, demanding that open information is available to everyone?
Well, we've got a few questions now.
Yeah, you go, Jambo, than me.
I'll say that, well, the internet is, so far, a very good way of having open information and spreading information. These, then actually trying to do is control the internet, and that's what we should be stopping it doing, because the internet's the best way of spreading as many people information openly, but it's them effectively trying to control the internet. Not scared of it, they're scared of people who scared of not being able to control it, of not being able to see what happens. Whereas actually they're probably very like people who go on the internet unsecurely, who actually give all their information to them without them having to do any work. It's the internet or the World Wide Web protocol used to be protected from them trying to control it, which is what they're trying to do with data gathering. Says just the start of a slope that goes down, just next step, next step, next step, until you get to where they can effectively a China North Korea situation.
Yeah, yeah.
Jambo?
The third stuff, well, you're talking about spread information. What do you think this meeting is about, Tom? We're trying to raise the intellect. Well, intellect's probably the wrong word to use, but raise the consciousness of the things that are going on with the internet. The whole point of this is, I'll give you an example. We've been infiltrated on several occasions on our Facebook group by particular members of right-wing groups in order to, well, I'm guessing, so that they can gather information on our anti-fascist marches. Now, because I'm quite tech-savvy, I've managed to ban them all before any serious damage is done. So I don't know what you're arguing about.
I'm saying the question, that this question of private ownership of scientific or technical knowledge, we should be opposed to that overall.
Yes, and we are. That's what copy left is about.
No, it's not that. You're saying that in fact we should have methods of making it secret. I say that we should have methods of opening it up completely.
These methods of opening it up by making your privacy a core concern allows you to bypass all the blocks that they do have. Because I think the interesting point here is that it really highlights the hypocrisy of it, where they're asking us for complete transparency, we can be spied upon, and yet they act in complete secrecy. But the internet has provided us a means, and we see it with WikiLeaks, that we can fight back and also discover what our governments, what the powerful corporations are doing behind our back, and that's why Anonymous is useful. And somebody else.
We've got a call. How does our hand up?
I just wanted to refer Tom to. Tom was talking about the Russian Revolution. I wanted to refer Tom to Victor Serge, who was a member of the Central Committee of the Communist Party who took over during the Russian Revolution. And Victor Serge was the first person into the Winter Palace where they kept the records, where the Tsarist secret police kept the records of all the revolutionaries and all the leftists in Russia. And he was amazed that there was like thousands and thousands of these, like obviously it was all paper in them days, thousands and thousands of these paper files about every fucking member of the Russian Communist Party, Russian Social Democratic Labour Party. And that's what we've got today, but only times 1,000, because they all collect that stuff online now. And that's what we're talking about today, is to limit that damage that we had. Every member of the Communist Party back in 1917, they had to have false names and false identities. They were hiding all the time. They had to go abroad every now and again to evade arrest.
And you simply don't do that.
They were stuck up in Siberia for years on end until they had to, trying to escape to get back to sort of put some sort of democratic control into society, which obviously the Tsarists were stopping them doing. And that's what we're talking about today, is that that Victor Serge wrote a book. He was a member of the Central Committee of the Communist Party before they took over. And he wrote a book about Tsarist secret police, how much information that they took on everybody. And that's what we're talking about today, because we're getting worse, as I think, the speaker's already said, you know, that this is an incremental process, bit by bit. You know, they stop information on the internet. They put in more and more draconian laws about who we are and what we're doing, and to stop us speaking out. And you know, Victor Surge, if you're ever interested in this stuff, in what we're talking about, the internet, go back to Victor Surge, and that's what we're dealing with here. Sorry, Tom, but that's the deal.
Yeah, I just wanted to make an analogy to maybe clear up any confusion. We have the right to privacy in our personal communications in normal day-to-day life. As you were saying, you don't expect your post to be opened when you send somebody a letter. Why is it any different to encrypt your email and keep that safe? I don't see a difference.
Well, I'm not in fact against people having private methods of walking on one common or whatever it is and exchanging views. What I'm saying is our demand is for open knowledge for everyone, for everything. So that, for
Tom,
instance,
the encryption protocols they use, it's Garoe can, I'm sure, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but the methods they use to encrypt data, the way they discover encryptions, that is open.
Yeah, I mean,
the way the software is created is completely open. The scientific knowledge is open for anybody to go and look at and to investigate.
But that's not true totally, because when you look at like the recent evolution of things, like as you put in your PowerPoint, you know, file sharing, you're talking about, you know, using the internet, how, you know, it should be open. Well, they're using these laws of surveillance and all of that to actually block the exchange of knowledge. And that's why we're opposing it, because yes, we want the internet to be a place of knowledge and education, and not a place where we're sold products constantly, where we're spied upon so they can know our preferences and just tailor stuff for us. And it's ridiculous.
I think, Tom, you're trying to talk about what the actual key problem is, about who's trying to see our data. I think you're trying to say we should stop.
we should break to special, the data can be kept separate. If it's open for everyone, then it's in fact a much better. Incidentally, on this question, I must be the only person in this room that's actually been required to do little runs to, in fact, Greece, or in fact to your country, sorry, Spain. Yeah. Where of course we needed to get money into. And there was nothing quite as good as finding a student, that didn't look obvious. So of course some of the jobs we did were running over. Our problem is really to in fact stop the control of in fact industrial production by small groups and simply say no rules that says you can't use any scientific knowledge available. Now that will break them faster than anything else, because at that point they won't be able to use their monopoly control on what's to be done.
Pippa's got Jumbo.
When you talk about the means of production and so on, and what's coming up now with 3D printing, I'm not an expert on it, but with plans and methods for creating everything from like housewares to guns with a 3D printer that you can own in your own home, and plans that you download on file sharing networks, then I think that is going to cause a revolution in like everyone owning their own means of production, if it could be spread evenly and not held as like proprietary patented thing that is way out of the price range of most people.
Well, a quick touch on that. I think that the ability of 3D printers is grossly underestimated. From what little I know, first of all, where are we going to get one? Because we don't own the means of production.
Make boxes you can.
So then on it here now, build a 3D printer.
You can get them for £2,000.
They're down to 900.
Yeah, it will be much lower.
Or build
You've got a question on a 3D printer. It's, so what? You make a design and you put it on a 3D printer and you get the design, but then you still have to take it to a factory in China to have the product made up. So we still don't own the means of production.
You print yourself, actually there.
You use it as a picture. That's not the
No.
product.
No, it's actually solid.
Solid, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a maker. What's a maker?
Yeah, basically
Like-
assembles stuff
Cup of
from
coffee.
like the basic level and then builds it outwards. So they've made a gun recently, a 3D printed gun. The only metallic part of it was a firing pin,
Yeah.
and even that was you can get polymers that do that.
I'm not quite sure what you're dealing with. Sorry.
Like a box like that.
You got a
right?
printer?
Tack in coffee cup, make a coffee cup, you put coffee in it, you drink it.
Yeah. The only thing you need is the plans and the raw materials. It basically builds.
Yeah, but it is, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
Oh, this is getting interesting,
I
isn't
have
it?
a comment on like 3D printing and it's something I
Yeah, I mean,
try and
it's,
read a lot
at the
about
moment it's at
because it's
1 hour 20.
future, I
So,
guess.
These obviously wasn't
I
controlled
was reading
by us.
something on nanotechnology a while ago. They can actually rearrange the basic building blocks of, well, reality. They can rearrange elements. So now, at some point in the future, it may be possible to just take a handful of soil from your back garden, dump it into the 3D printer, and then come out with, I don't know, a cup of coffee or something. Holiday.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That was saying a revolution.
Nanotechnology, they can move the atoms around, but they can't exactly like change a car into oxygen. But they can still move the atoms around to form it.
You can transform one atom to another atom. It's not worth the price.
So changing one element into another involves changing the nucleus, which is like
Yes,
nuclear
it can be done.
nuclear fission and fusion. But
Yeah.
that's not
It can be done in
Yes,
any element.
Scientists discuss this at the time.
Yeah.
We're not.
Jumbo's got a
Move
question.
on to, I think this is interesting. Does Bitcoin help anti-capitalism? What's your view on that, Garoe?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that now.
Just
well,
because we've got like 20
yeah.
minutes.
Does everybody know what bitcoins are?
Yes.
So the
No, I don't.
Well, they're basically an uncontrolled means of pay somebody. So it's like
Virtual currency.
yeah,
bit pieces.
but it's also encrypted. I mean, for what I was telling before about hiring a hitman or buying drugs, you would use this kind of currency. You wouldn't pay with your bank account, of course. Well, does it help? I don't really know. The thing is, yeah, it's uncontrolled. We can get, I mean, and that's good because that we can do whatever we want, and it's not subject to. I don't think it's the real. I mean, the definite answer to the money problem, but it's steps toward the solution because, for example, it doesn't have inflation or things like that because it would be a finite amount, and when it reaches the top, you won't be able to create more. But the problem right now is that there is a lot of speculation because even though the Bitcoin numbers remains the same, how much you buy with, let's say, dollars, that changes.
Value changes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, I mean, it helps in the sense, but I don't see it as a real solution how it is right now.
It comes back. Oh, sorry.
I just want to say, I don't understand anything about this fucking Bitcoin. They keep on about it every fucking day on RT,
Yeah.
on Russia Today, and I don't understand how it's working, to be honest.
It's called printing
Yes,
money.
how technical do you want me to get?
Yeah, I wanted to kick it into my brain because that fucking guy on RT, he's on about it every second.
You're talking about Max Kaiser, aren't you?
Max Kaiser, that's what
Yeah.
I'm talking about, man.
Well,
And I love Max Kaiser, but this Bitcoin shit, you know.
Yeah. It does seem a bit unreal, doesn't it? The idea of just getting currency from a computer.
It's, for a start, he says that the currency, the actual Bitcoin itself, is an algorithm.
yeah.
Explain that to me a bit.
Okay, yeah. You have, let's say, a wallet where you have your bitcoins, and what it happens when you pay somebody is that you send an encrypted message that says, take it from this wallet, I'm transferring this amount of bitcoins to that person. And yeah, and then you get the confirmation back. But to do that in an encrypted way, and so that you couldn't cheat, let's say sending the message and saying, okay, take that much amount of my wallet, but it's still there. What happens is that you have to create some you need to solve some crypto encryption problems that basically calculating a few I think it were like prime numbers, and then you would check out the veracity of the transaction through those numbers. So I don't know if that really
I think the main point. Sorry.
I just want to say that that's exactly what you just said there. Is exactly the sort of thing that what's his name, Max Kaiser says, and it's just it still isn't. Sorry, Jambo.
I think I've already tried to explain it better.
Garoe can correct me if I'm wrong, but the main point about bitcoins is that it's person-to-person currency. It's not owned and controlled by.
Yeah, it's PCP like the torrent.
You do that on purpose, though.
I'm merely pointing out we've got a method, it's called gold.
Yes, and that's not person to person, is it? It's owned and controlled by the banks. It's printed by the banks.
Not gold.
The price is set on the financial market through trading. How is that not set by wealthy companies and governments?
It's not necessarily though, because we all know that gold has inherent value.
Yeah, I know, but
if you used to find a gold ring, for example, you're not going to pass it by, are you? You're going to put it in your pocket. If currency collapses, the first thing people turn to is substances such as gold.
Yeah, but
it's the oldest currency.
Yeah. And why is that? It's because it's finite in the world, which is just like Bitcoin is. The point is, it's scarce. The point is, most of the gold stocks are owned by the select few that have been controlling it for the last 700 years. Bitcoin isn't like that. And there is a finite amount.
That guy had his hand up ages ago.
I think there's a good point to be made that the people who designed the Bitcoin system, they are very much trying to keep their identities hidden. Everything about it is surrounded in secrecy. The protocols for transfer are...
No, they're public.
Okay, those ones... Now I've just lost my train of thought, but come back to me in a second.
Did you have something?
No, I just wanted to make sure you understand.
You had your hand up?
Yeah, I was going to ask if anyone's got any idea of this. What's to stop Bitcoin becoming like gold or any other resource? Because it is finite and the methods for mining it, you need computer power, which is basically financial power. So what's to stop Bitcoin just being hoarded in the hands of the already wealthy?
Nothing.
I'll tell you the limitation. If in fact the particular things that we're exchanging do not in fact take money, take work to produce, then in fact such a financial thing will fall. And in fact one of the things about Bitcoin, or as any government, while they print money, the money will be unstable. If you've got gold and silver, then the money's stable. Or if you're transferring oil, for in fact something else, that is a real concrete thing. The problem with capitalism is it in fact divorces the actual production process of things that we need, from in fact actually the monetary problem.
Okay, Jambo?
The only value of gold and any kind of material that you mine from the ground is essentially the labour that you put into mining it. It's the labour that's put into mining.
That's what I was saying.
Well, in one sense, they have that with Bitcoin because it's data mining, but I don't really know too much about how that process is done.
It's basically just solving a mathematical
I think we're
problem.
getting confused between money and value there, because Bitcoin is not a measure, is a way of taking value out of the system. The value is what we put into the system, and we do that by our labour, by producing shit. But Bitcoin is a way of taking that value out and storing it somehow, artificially. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the value we create through our labour, but Bitcoin and other methods is a way of storing that value, not artificially but abstractly.
I think we should have sometime in the future a discussion or some sort of information about Bitcoin, because I'm guessing quite a few of us aren't really familiar with it. And
The role of money and
Could we wrap up the same organization?
Yeah.
yeah,
It should be,
I think Garoe deserves
a massive round of applause. Well done, Garoe.